Jacob was one of our 6 children. He was the 5th child, and he was the shining star of our family.
When he was born, wow, what a special day. We had originally chosen another name for him, but come up with the name Jacob Israel because I was reading a book at the time, and the book was entitled Jacob by A.W. Pink. It was a theological book about Jacob and the story of how Jacob became Israel.
Jacob was very talented. From the time that he was a little boy, I noticed that he started reading at a very young age. I homeschooled him till 8th grade. He caught on very quick with everything. He started showing interest in music, playing the drums. We bought him his first set of drums when he was 13 because he showed he wanted to drum. He wanted to be a drummer. And we set it up in our where we were living at the time. And he just started going at it. We let him. We had the drum set in our living room. We wanted to foster that in him, like we did all our other kids. And he went at it, playing the drums, was very good at it. Then when he became older, when he wanted to go to high school, because like I said, I homeschooled him, and we decided to let him go to high school.
He came into our lives at a time when I myself was going through a drug crisis. I was introduced to PCP by some friends of mine, and I became very addicted to it during those days. And I was trying to find my way out of that during the time that Jacob was born. I was delivered eventually from it through resisting the urge to do it and even having another son. I had already had 4 children born, and it wasn't good timing, to be still wrapped up in that at the time of Jacob's birth.
We have an older son that's 11 years older than him. And while Jacob was in high school, he really wanted to record. Our older son is a recording engineer, and he has a whole studio in his home. And so they kind of started to record music. After he graduated from high school, he went to stay with our older son. And our older son is married. They don't have any kids, and Jacob started hanging out with them, and Jacob was a recreational drug user. We knew because he told us.
In my DJ career in Chicago, I worked with Grammy Award-winning people. And in the nightclub scene, especially all the clubs I worked at, there was always drugs involved, and I was always quick to try those kind of things and experiment with those kind of things. But by the time I was in my 30s, that part of it was starting to wear out. So I thought it was kind of strange that I was still actually involved with those kind of things at such a later age. And I had already started my spiritual journey as far as Bible study and stuff like that. So it was really not a good time for me to be involved with that. But like I said earlier, these kind of things can overtake you if you have a history of that, and you're around the wrong people, places, and things.
My husband and I did raise our kids as Christians. So he was very interested in spiritual things because we always talked about it. My husband was always talking to him about things because my husband was really able to relate to him more with a lot of things. He was very expressive through his music. So I believe that that's what during that time, that he would go through things, that he would express himself through his music. He took an interest in rapping, and my husband and I were not too happy about that because we knew that, rap music was a little dark. It could get dark. However, we let him, go ahead and we let him be him.
We were a music family. So I always usually had a DJ set up. There was always usually a mirror ball in our living room, and things like that. So, lighting and sound and of course, because of the dark history and everything I went through, I said, I'm going to make a positive out of this, where I'm going to help my kids to experience music without the dark side to it, and that I could be that excellent coach, to be that person to help them channel their talents, in directions away from the dark roads that I went down. And I was always talking to my kids about my story, just like I'm telling you. Like, my kids all know my story, of the pain and the suffering and the misery of this life. And you don't want to go down those paths, because I knew how potentially dangerous it can be to be in the music industry or the film industry or any kind of entertainment industry, because the entertainment industry seems to go hand in hand many times with experimental drug use. And I mean, you think of people like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and I mean, the list goes on and on.
He was not a drug addict. He was not, we never saw him be like where he didn't have a criminal record. He didn't steal money from us ever. So we didn't think it was anything serious. It was just like he was being a college kid trying to figure things out.
I was always giving my kids like the best coaching I could, of this is what's going on in the world. These are things you have to look out for. These are the strategies that help me. And I would tell those things to Jacob. And Jacob would listen to me. And he was assuring me that he was learning, that he was learning the lesson, and that he was not going to, he was going to avoid what it was that I went through. It was kind of difficult because I could see like signs along the way, especially when I found out that he was starting to take Xanax. At that point, I really almost went into an internal panic mode. I instantly knew that this was bad. And it was at a time when I started to find out about fentanyl. I started to see that people were taking a drug called fentanyl, and they were just basically dying. And it was just after that he had an overdose, and it wasn't on fentanyl or anything. He was taking a synthetic hallucinogen that they called it. There's a term for it, research chemicals or something. Like they come out with new stuff, to try to mimic LSD or something like that. And so anyway, he got a hold of this, and it sent him to the hospital, and they told us that he might not make it that night. But he pulled through. He pulled through, and he came back to, back to himself quickly, and he was reassured that that event was marked the end of his, his experimentation with drugs, and we thought it did. But another incident happened like a year later or 2 years later, where he was back in the hospital again because of something that he took.
He didn't meet a girl, but he, somebody that was his friend since they were kids, they decided we're going to be in a relationship. And then 2020, she announced that she was pregnant, and at the beginning of 2021, they were engaged, and the baby was going to be due January of 2021. And he got serious. He moved in with her. He got a regular 9-to-5 job. He seemed like he was really trying to do the right thing, to be responsible. He was going to have a baby. He seemed very happy about it. And we were very hopeful, and we were glad to see that he was finally going to settle down. It was a Sunday morning, and my phone started ringing, and I looked at it, and I saw that it was his fiance. And I just kind of thought, oh, well, maybe they're wanting me to watch the baby or something, or because the baby had been born. He was born January 27th. Everything seemed to be going well. So she was calling my phone, and she kind of repeatedly was calling my phone. I didn't answer right away because I was like tired, and I thought, but then something inside of me told me, okay, well, she keeps calling me. So I answered. And it was Sunday morning at like 9:30 a.m. And she said, Diane, my middle name is Diane. My name is Eva Diane. She said, Diane, they're telling me that they can't find a pulse on Jacob. And I'm like, what? She's like, I don't know what's happening. I had to call 911, and she said, you guys need to come here right now. And I woke up my husband, and we were just like freaking out.
We just got dressed as fast as we could and got in the truck and got to his house in 5 minutes. We got there, the EMS was there. They were walking around with tablets in their hands, iPads and stuff, and there had to be about 7 firefighters in his apartment engaged in heroic life-saving effort.
They came out, and they're like, they started asking us a bunch of questions. Like, does he have any sickness? Has he had heart problems? They were just questioning us, and we're like, no, he doesn't have anything like that. So then we asked Natalia, we said, was he using anything? Was he using any, drugs? And she's like, no, not that I know of.
And they managed to get his pulse back, transported him to the hospital.
We went to the hospital, and we waited. I don't know how long it was that we waited, and the doctor came out and started asking us more questions. Like, does he have any history of heart issues or heart problems? And we're like, no, he doesn't. And then he's like, he seemed puzzled, like he wasn't sure, And 5 minutes later, he came back and he said, I'm sorry. He's gone.
It was surrealistic. Like an explosion. I could only liken it to probably the only thing I could think of is like if you drove a car over a cliff and you realize that there's nothing that you can do but fly through the air in a car that just drove off of a cliff. And to some extent, that car is still falling. I mean, even today, it's like the car is still falling in this huge big hole.
It's very foggy to me that day. I just know that when he came back out and then he asked us if we wanted to go in there to see him. We chose not to because I felt like I wanted to remember my son from the last time that I saw him. That was my choice. And by then, all the siblings knew that something had happened and they were at the house, and we had to go back. My husband had to tell everyone. Everybody was there that he didn't make it, and it was just a very dark, dark time. It was very, very dark, and everybody was in shock. It was very unbelievable. It happened so fast, and we still didn't know what had happened. They just kind of told us that he went into cardiac arrest. And that's all they said. And so we had to tell everyone, and we have grandkids, all our grandkids were there. And it was just a very dark time for all of us. It was very unbelievable because everyone had their moments that they had seen Jacob, and then it's just so fast when something like that happens. So we were all in shock. My husband and our older son went back to the apartment, and they started looking around because we needed to find out what happened. And my husband found in his jean jacket, I think it was 3 or 4 pills in his pocket, blue pills. And we got his phone, and that's when we started to find out kind of what happened, because we did have his phone, and were able to go in it, and they started to read the text messages the night before. So we found out that he was asking someone to bring him, that he needed to go to sleep because he had been up partying with one of his friends at his apartment, and they were doing coke. And he needed to go to sleep because he needed to go to work. And he asked him for oxy. And the guy told him, I guess, yeah, I have him or whatever. And the text messages show that he came to deliver it to Jacob. And so we started to put the pieces together, my husband finding those pills, and my husband called the police, and I kind of started telling them, about it. And all we knew was, okay, did he overdose? Was he drinking alcohol and took an oxy, and is that what killed him? And I don't know how much coke that they were doing. So we were thinking all these things like, okay, well, he did coke, he did oxy, and he was drinking. So that's what happened, you know? We weren't sure. When the toxicology report came back, it didn't have anything in his system except for fentanyl. That's what it said. That it said fentanyl with recent cocaine use. That's what it said. Fentanyl toxicity with recent cocaine use. My son did not ask for fentanyl. He did not want to die that morning. He had plans. He had a baby boy that he loved. He proposed to Natalia, the baby's mom, and he was trying to do the right thing. And so I know that he did not want to die. However, because of my belief in God, I know that it happened for a reason. And as much as it hurts, you know, I do trust in God, and that's the only thing that's keeping me going is my trust in him, and I know that my son is good now, even though I miss him, and I'm always forever going to miss him. My husband and I's lives have been changed. We're like totally different people. Um, and it's been a very painful thing for us.
That love is not over when a person dies, that it still lingers on, and there's hope. There's still hope and joy for tomorrow. And we see those kind of signs all over the place, you know, that love is bigger than anything else. Just the opportunity to help other people and share the story, you know, of what happened and what's happening and what can happen in the future. It's really a joy on many different levels. However, there's always that somberness that lingers on as well. It's a very somber joy. It's the only way I can explain it.